I would much rather see somebody really master the foundations of blood sugar, where you're eating 3 meals in the day, because a lot of our clients aren't even eating enough food in the day. They're already at a caloric deficit, that then adding intermittent fasting on top of that is just compounding the issue. So before we go into like a full-blown intermittent fasting, if that's something that you're so gung-ho to try, I want to make sure that you're getting enough calories in the day. I want to make sure you're not skipping any meals. I want to make sure that you're getting healthy like good protein, fiber, and healthy fats at each meal. I want to see that lovely blood sugar stability, so that way you have a very strong foundation to build on when you do try on a time restricted eating, when you do try on an intermittent fasting, if that's something that you want to try on for yourself.
Welcome to the Clear Skin Chronicles, the podcast that takes you on a journey to uncover the secrets of achieving glowing, acne-free skin. We believe that knowledge is power, and by understanding the root causes of your acne, we can create a solid foundation for long-lasting clear skin. I'm Katie Stewart, registered holistic nutritionist and founder of the Clear Skin Solution, where we help women just like you get to the root cause of their acne.
And I'm Chris Brown, registered holistic nutritionist and program director in the Clear Skin Solution. Through functional testing, we pinpoint where the body system imbalances lie so we can dive deep into your acne clearing journey.
We work virtually with clients to clear up their skin from the inside out and have helped thousands of women worldwide regain their confidence.
Does intermittent fasting cure acne?
That's a question.
Bam. There you go.
Chris,
I get that a lot.
That gives me anxiety, the fact that you started this entire podcast off with that question. My anxiety's gone from its normal 15 out of 10 to 20 out of 10.
Well, I thought that was a pretty catchy little, nugget.
It was a good head turner, I'll say.
Now, I asked that question because that's how it was posed to me by a client.
Yes.
So I thought, how cool.
I have seen this on our comments on social and in our DMs.
Yeah. Here's the thing. We're smart. So we internet search our brains out, and then we go down these rabbit holes, and I call them hills too, right? It's like we're constantly going up and then down and then up and down. Oh my gosh, I totally found what I need to do. And then you try it for like 1-2 weeks. It's like, that didn't work.
Yeah, it's a roller coaster.
It
is. Ups and downs. Or a tornado. Should it be a tornado? Yeah, that's right? a better analogy. The acne.
So if we're looking at this and the situation with it is, if I'm going to answer this to a client, it's no. One, I'm using cure as in quotes because, again, that's how it's posed to us. We don't cure, we don't diagnose, we don't do anything like that. However, it is impossible to say that intermittent fasting is going to negate all the acne.
And I think this is important to bring up just in general. There is no one thing that is going to, quote, cure your acne. It is never, ever, ever, ever just one thing. You see your acne is solely a symptom of this whole little chaotic tornado that's going on underneath the surface of your skin. So it's never going to be just I need to intermittent fast, just I need to, find my food intolerance, just I need to fix my gut, just I need to fix my hormones. It is a massive combination of pretty much every system in the body. Wouldn't you say that that is the case?
Absolutely. I mean, there's benefits, don't get me wrong.
Absolutely. I like to say fasting can be a tool in the acne clearing toolbox when used correctly and in the right circumstance, because it's not going to be for everybody. There is no one blanket approach to any single individual's health, because we are all unique individuals. We have different genetics, we have different lifestyle, different upbringing, different life experiences, different infections, all of these different things. Even identical twins will have a different journey when it comes to repairing their health, whether it's skin or not. This is really any health issue out there.
Exactly. So then I always delve in and I ask them. So I specifically led with intermittent fasting, but let's just take fasting as a whole for a second.
And Chris, let's break down what is fasting.
Yes, exactly. So when we're looking at those types of the fasting, what it looks like, how it is fasting at some level is the restriction of food, the calories. whether it's time, whether it's caloric, whether it's a true fast. And, we'll talk about, now we're not talking about religion.
No, we're not talking about religious fasts because those are completely different. Obviously, that is someone's personal religion, and we are not here to debate that.
Right. So a lot of the time I do find that intermittent fasting is confused with keto. I don't know where the correlation comes in, but a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I just intermittent fast to put myself in ketosis and then I eat high fats on top of that. So I don't have to worry about the sugar. And then we know, Katie, that, maybe it looks good for a couple months, but around month 3, boom, hormone issues.
Mm-hmm.
So when we look at just, again, fasting, we're looking at the restriction of calories or time where we're intaking the calories. That's how I like to best describe it. Do you have anything to add on that one?
No, I think that's a great, right? And there's different types of fasting, right? There's true fasting, which is abstaining from food, and the only true fast would be a water fast. And outside of that, you would also, and we're going to go into each one of these. And then, of course, we all know about juice cleanses or juice. And I don't even want to say juice fast because you're not fasting. That's not a true fast with the juice. That's juicing is completely different than a true fast. And then there's intermittent fasting, where intermittent fasting is where you restrict your eating window down to 8 hours in the day. And then you fast for 16 hours of the day as well. So those are kind of the main fasts that you'll see in today's culture and society.
Yeah, and I find that they're just everything is getting blurred. They're just grouping everything, right? So we can actually talk about later on about the fasting schedules and what those look like, the common ones that come through. Mm-hmm. So now that I did the bubble popping, because I'm known for that, and I said, no, it's not going to quote unquote cure your acne. That doesn't mean that there's not benefits, but let's just talk about a juice fast. So that's the juicing of the vegetables and the fruits. There's no fiber. It can, this is the thing, we have to be careful. It can spike insulin. It can spike our stress hormone. It has to be done right. Anything with a fast, anything with a juice, please do it with a professional. Water fast, do not do it unless you're with a medical.
Absolutely, under medical supervision. If you're doing a true water fast, please do it under the guidance of medical supervision. Don't just go off a TikTok that you saw. Really make sure you have proper supervision there.
So, you know how I like to try things?
Well, I already know you've done water fasts.
Yeah, so I've done it 3 times. First time, I made it to 3 days. Second time, I made it to about 4.5 days. And the other time, I made it to 6.5. I was not under medical supervision.
Chris did it the wrong way. She wasn't educated at that point. She doesn't know what she knows now.
I was. That's the thing. But I'm
I'm just trolling you so hard right now.
I was. But the thing is I wanted to try it because you know me, I'm very firm on if we're creating a protocol for any kind of client and this is like really something different, we like to try things. We like to make sure.
But I do want to give you some credit because I don't want to just troll you over here all the time, is you're very, very intelligent. You're extremely well educated in nutrition. You teach nutrition to nutrition students. Like you're not coming at this from the average person that doesn't have any nutrition training and just saw an influencer on social media saying, oh my gosh, you should do a water fast. Everybody's doing it. You actually did this with quite a bit of education behind you.
Right. And my naturopathic doctor also was aware.
There we go. There's our supervision.
Right. So here's something. Everybody is built differently. So when I did my water fast, by day 3, you turn off ghrelin, which is your I'm so hungry, feed me
hungry hormone.
Yeah. And you don't crave food anymore. Kind of neat, right? If everyone thinks this is a great weight loss plan, please listen carefully.
And like let's really before we go any further, we are not talking about fasting for weight loss. like that is not what we are about.
Mm-hmm.
We are really here to be talking about the therapeutic benefits of fasting, detoxification, when to do it, like who is a good candidate, and things that you need to know. Because if you're taking this from a weight loss perspective, this is the wrong
Please
reason to be
don't.
doing it.
Oh, it is totally the wrong reason, right? So the second time I did it, by day 3, I would get numbness in my legs. I didn't even, the second time I did it, which was periods of like months. So it wasn't like I did it back to back.
Mm-hmm.
Also, by that day 4.5, I had to break the fast, and you have to do it properly because you can't just go and eat.
Deep dish pizza after fasting for a week.
Give it to me. Oh my God, I'd be so sick. I just think about that. So that's the thing. So I was losing feeling. I didn't even get on the second phase to day 3 before my hunger shut off. And my naturopath was pretty amazed because really it should take about 72 hours to put yourself into a ketogenic state. I was pulling in ketogenic state by 24 hours, which is really unheard of.
Mm-hmm.
So what do? Well, that must have been an anomaly. It didn't happen to me the first time. Now I have 2 things. Go to the next time. Let me tell you, never again will I do that even for one day. So it was painful, not good. So we'll talk about how to do things properly at the end of the day, but just don't do it unless you're supervised. Intermittent fasting, again, is we're looking at restricting calories, and time restricted eating is we only eat in certain windows. So, and I find, I don't know about you, but intermittent fasting and time restrictive eating is almost skewing the same in publications now.
Yeah, it's very similar, right? There's like a true intermittent fasting is the 18 and 6, where you eat in an 8-hour window and you fast for 16.
Yes.
And time restricted eating is more of like a 12 to 12, maybe a 10-14. I'm trying to do quick public math, and that's not my strong suit.
That was job well done.
I know.
Yeah, for us,
simple math,
right?
Hopefully.
So let's just jump into that schedule because it kind of ties in. So like you said, the 12 to 12, it's a great starting point. If people want to do it, I like that.
Yeah,
if
because
I'm not feeling well, go ahead.
It gives your digestive system that break, right? Is instead of eating, if you're going to bed at 10 p.m. and you're still eating a full-blown bowl of pasta right until 9:50, that's not going to be ideal for your digestive system. So that 12-hour window really is a great way to, 1, give your digestive system the break that it needs, and 2, still get that caloric intake that you need without really impacting your blood sugar if you're doing it correctly.
Absolutely. And I like this as like a 6 and 6 or a 7 and 7. Like, so 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. or 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. because we have our meal, and the last meal of the day, remember, if your digestion is a little bit off, you're still working through everything you've eaten, processed, nutrients, muscle fueling, all of these beautiful things. So it makes sense. And why not use our sleep schedule to do part of the fast? So we're not like, I'm so hungry, and by 3 o'clock, we're headed to the, coffee store to get coffee. And of course, have to hit the convenience store for a bag of chips or a chocolate bar because now we just don't feel good. We have no energy. We're sluggish. So use your sleep, your circadian rhythm, your natural time where your body wants to detoxify for that. There's also alternative day fasting. So every other day. So one day you eat normal, the other day you restrict the calories. One day you'd eat normal, and whatever normal is for you. Like you said, the 6 and 8, eating all meals within 8 hours. Then the other one I've heard and know about is the 5 and 2. So you're going to eat normal for 5 days. And when I say normal, it's normally what you do because our normal is going to be different than somebody else's normal. Then restrict the calories of the 2 days back to back, no more than 500 calories per day. Here's the thing. Out of all of those things we've shared, I like 12 and 12 because it's sustainable and it still fosters a relationship with food. Right?
You keep going. No, you keep going.
No, I was going to say with acne sufferers, first thing they do is they rip everything out of their diet because it causes acne. B vitamins cause acne. Vitamin D causes acne.
Everything's got to go.
Oh my gosh, the soil in my plant in my upstairs bathroom that I never use causes acne. So I don't have a plant in my bathroom, but
I have plants. They do quite well in my bathroom.
yeah, I should probably put some in
I
there.
know. They do well in there.
So yeah, so that's kind of so that's the schedules of it, the types of fasting. And then here's the other thing. When people come in, sometimes I say no. That's probably not the best right now.
At this time.
At this time, you've been in this world long enough, right? And you know how I like traditional Chinese medicine. So even in traditional Chinese medicine, it says restrictive eating or intermittent fasting. They call it like a prescription-free, natural way to cut down on pimples.
Mm-hmm.
Well, think about it. If you're not eating, then you're not eating the foods that are triggers either. So always go by perspective and see it as a grand like. And when they say cut down on pimples, they're not saying cure. They're not using that word that everybody likes. They're not saying cystic acne. They're not saying, I mean, there's some hormonal, interconnections in here. Really, they're looking at the inflammation reduction. So that's what fasting is. It should go to reduce the inflammation, the pressures on the digestive system, how we're feeling, how we're doing, all of these different things, how we're using our insulin. I mean, there's still 3 hormones on top of that, on top of insulin. And so when inflammation comes down, clogged pores or too much sebum shouldn't be a thing because it's all driven by an inflammatory reaction.
And one thing I do want to add on to intermittent fasting is there are studies that show true intermittent fasting is much better suited to men than women. And with men, and we can actually take this, there's a 2005 study actually that showcased that the blood sugar control actually worsened in women after 3 weeks of intermittent fasting, which wasn't the case in men. And we have to remember, like, the biological genetic makeup of men and women are really are quite different in respects like this, right? We were made for 2 really different purposes historically. And what's really interesting is when we look back to like those hunter-gatherer societies, right, where men would go out and they'd get the food and women would, be at home and taking care of things and doing all of that. These were really different periods of, scarcity in human history, where men generally have a larger physical size than women, and they respond to fasting a little bit different of a way, where it gives a really big metabolic boost. Like, it gives a really big boost to that metabolic rate. And this gives them that like fuel and drive that they needed to hunt, to go and gather that food, because their genetic makeup historically in hunter-gatherer was to go and find food for the family and find food for the tribe to be able to provide for everybody. And what's really interesting is, there's research that shows that men, when they're doing this type of intermittent fasting, it can actually increase their metabolism by 14%, which is a pretty profound number. And on the women's perspective, we remember, like, in hunter-gatherer societies, women's bodies would respond different to scarcity in the home and scarcity in their society, because when women's metabolism slowed down during times of scarcity, they were doing that to conserve energy, really to store fat in order to survive a potential long-term famine. This is where if they're not getting enough food, they're and you're not getting that caloric intake and your blood sugar is going off and all of these things are happening, it's putting you into that fight or flight. It's like, okay, a famine is happening. I need to conserve my energy. So it can be really different, really impactful. Like, sorry, I shouldn't say impactful. It can be vastly different on intermittent fasting for men and women. So generally for our clients, we like to recommend a smaller fasting window for women. So that way the blood sugar is not getting impacted, the metabolism is not getting impacted too much. And it's not putting that body into that, oh my gosh, a famine is coming.
That is key. Mm-hmm. You just brought up an excellent point.
I was excited about that. This because I've always looked at that stance with intermittent fasting, that we have to remember women are not just smaller men. We're very
mighty.
Different. Yeah, we're mighty. Let me give you I think the strength of a woman's gonna beat out a man, but that's just my opinion. But we have to remember, historically, over these thousands of years of human civilization, the role of men, even though that may not be the same in today's society, the role of men was to go out and hunt and gather food. So they have a very different, their body gets impacted differently in fasting.
Especially the way we use our sugars.
Mm-hmm.
If we cut all our sugars out and say want to go keto as an example, because a lot of there's, like I said, there's the keto and then the fasting. So what we're trying to do is burn through our phospholipids. So it's, the second stage. We use glucose first, phospholipids or lipids second, basically our fat, these types of things. So we have to be very, very careful because estrogen does need some glucose.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't want to be messing like that. Like, no, like PMS on fire daily with our moods. And who wants that, right?
Who wants PMS on fire?
So there's a lot of studies that say intermittent fasting can increase insulin sensitivity. So fantastic. People with diabetes, people with known issues with blood sugar instability. And there is a way to do it without weight loss. And I always want to say that because how many people say, oh, but can I get some weight loss with that? Well, no, it's not like a drive-through. You can't just add pickles. So really, it means less hormones roaming through the body when we are intermittent fasting. But there's some common things, some very, very common things or threads when people come into in the Clear Skin Solution that I'll be like, oh, we got to hold back. It's not supporting the fasting that they want. It's a for now. Can we look at doing this instead? If you want to do that later, great. We can look at that. Mm-hmm. So the big one is an imbalance of macronutrient intake. So often we see clients come in, they're protein deficient. They can be carbohydrate driven. They don't have correct protein, fats, and fibers, or not enough calories, period, throughout the day. Mm-hmm. That's a big thing. If we are constantly throwing our body into that stress-like mode, insulin and cortisol have no choice because cortisol comes out as a stress hormone and insulin's like, oh, I'm the vacuum. I'm going to go suck that up. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, what did you want to add on that?
I was kind of going on a different tangent there and just talking about, the time and place of when to practice these different time restricted eating, right? Because because there are studies, of course, that are done on the benefits of intermittent fasting for women, how to do it properly. But I find like the issue is it's almost being done, I want to say incorrectly, because it's impacting the blood sugar. It's like, oh, well, I'm going to eat until midnight, so I'm not actually going to eat until mid-afternoon. And I've even had conversations with friends like when intermittent fasting was getting really popular about like 5 or 6 years ago. I remember a friend being like, yeah, like we started intermittent fasting and we start eating at 1 p.m. every day. And I'm like, well, what time are you getting up? They're like, oh, like 6 or 7 a.m. I was like, oh, and how's that going for you? And what's interesting is we still want to be eating within an hour to 2 of waking up because we need to be supporting that blood sugar. So if you are going to be practicing that intermittent fasting, maybe if you're getting up at, say, 6 a.m., let's try to eat by 7 or 8 a.m. at the latest, and then keep that window of I'm going to eat from like, say, 8 to 4 or 8 to 5, and then take the evening off from eating versus the morning.
I had this one client recently, and she was doing what I call time restricted eating, intermittent fasting, time restricted eating. And she would get up and not eat or break her fast for about 5 hours. Every afternoon, hardcore crash. It was repeat, but it's doing so well for me. I feel so good and energized. What? Can I draw your attention to the hardcore fast? Right? Like, I mean, but the thing is that's why we can break our fast. That's why it's called break fast. Yeah, because we're naturally don't eat, right? So chronically, when we have chronic high insulin levels, so whether that's food, whether that's stress, whether that's not restricting your caloric intake in a proper manner, it can cause damage to collagen. So there's the connection. So yeah, we're back to a blood sugar instability. This doesn't mean you have to, intermittent fast or do anything like that. It means that intermittent fasting may improve skin tone and slow down the look of aging by regulating insulin levels. But again, if your caloric intake is proper throughout the day, then we can probably see some therapeutic benefits in a short period of time because it's not meant for long term.
And for our clients, right, is so like the vast majority of them have some type of blood sugar dysregulation in some form, whether it's impacting by not eating enough calories in the day, the stress, whatever it may be. And so we always,
PCOS, just
yeah,
as like, if you want me to throw something out there.
and we always want these like, I think what happens in society is we get a new trend or a new fad or, oh my gosh, this is the next big thing in nutrition or health or whatever. We really grab onto it as, oh my God, this is what's going to be the thing that's going to solve all of my problems for me. When instead of, and I'm not knocking this because of course there's going to be wonderful new diet trends and fads or whatever out there that's going to be so beneficial. But it's important not to skip over, again, don't skip over the foundational principles of nutrition in order to just grab on and on hold to something like intermittent fasting. I would much rather see somebody really master the foundations of blood sugar where you're eating 3 meals in the day. Because a lot of our clients aren't even eating enough food in the day. They're already at a caloric deficit that then adding intermittent fasting on top of that is just compounding the issue. So before we go into like a full-blown intermittent fasting, if that's something that you're so gung-ho to try, I want to make sure that you're getting enough calories in the day. I want to make sure you're not skipping any meals. I want to make sure that you're getting healthy like good protein, fiber, and healthy fats at each meal. I want to see that lovely blood sugar stability so that way you have a very strong foundation to build on when you do try on a time restricted eating, when you do try on an intermittent fasting, if that's something that you want to try on for yourself. Because that way you're going to be able to eat enough food in the day. Because I see a lot of people making mistakes where they practice time restricted eating, but they weren't eating enough to begin with. And now they're having one meal in an 8-hour period and they're so caloric deficient. And when you're caloric deficient, that's going to be causing a whole slew of issues.
Okay. So you talked about caloric intake. Now, talk about water and what we often see. So if people are doing time restricted intermittent fasting, what happens with the water usually?
Yeah, we're not getting enough water.
Your body is 60% water. You need water. Again, if you want to come in and do that, and we've reviewed it and everything's all like check, great, we can implement it. Outside of that, if you are drinking 4, 5, 6 cups a day and you're fasting and you're drinking coffee, I'm going to let you know something. It's not working.
Because that's a big thing. I do see a lot of people that try intermittent fasting is they're like, oh, I just have coffee all morning. Just have coffee. And if you're an acne sufferer,
a liquid fast, I've heard that. Yeah.
If we're an acne sufferer, we can't be sipping breakfast and messing our blood sugar up and only having coffee, which is going to further impact your blood sugar. And then it's just all of these cascading issues that go on. It's like you really need to be, again, building that foundation, getting enough calories in the day, making sure you're not skipping meals, getting the healthy protein, fiber, and fats, making sure you're eating vegetables in the day. I don't want to see somebody intermittent fasting if, the only meal they're going to go and have is a burger and fries. Like it's
what happens though.
And we see these quite often. And I really want people to be able to have the foundation in place. And then if they wish to, I would recommend, if anything, trying a time restricted eating first, especially if you are a woman struggling with acne.
Right. And please take our advice. Take my personal issues with doing things. Always have to try it. 12 and 12. Set a time in PM where you stop and then wake up and go for it. Because here's another little kind of tangent. When we talk about intermittent fasting for acne, it's really that limit meals, specific eating windows. It's more about eat than the calorie counting. But that's a fine line because people don't know how to do it properly. So what we want to do is invest a ton of time so that you feel how to balance your own blood sugar. You feel the inflammation come down. You feel the stress like reduction. And I'm not kidding. You feel it. You truly, truly feel it when you start applying these. You're having bowel movements. You're doing all these things. But one little clever thing I never have anybody question is skin fasting. So, skin fasting, it's not for the whole body. It's isolated to, like, say, the face for acne sufferers. So, it's a period of time when you're going to reduce the number of products in the skincare routine. So, really to set and reset the body to allow it. And what's one thing that, Katie, you're the skincare guru, but what's one thing you always boast about? You basically talk all the time about skin fasting.
About not overdoing products, right? And like
Yeah.
skin fasting's really been a bit of a new trend. I think it kind of really started to get popular in 2023, I would say a little bit in 2022, but like there was a lot of articles coming out in 2023. And this is where, you know, you're really cutting back or eliminating a lot of those sorry, what's the word? I didn't sleep well and I'm getting over being sick. So when like more of those treatments, I want to say, like the AHAs, the BHAs, the whatever it
The
may be.
applications, yeah.
Yeah, and for, you know, from a few days to a few weeks, and just really sticking to like a single gentle cleanser and like a really nourishing moisturizer to keep that skincare a little bit more minimal.
Yeah, so I'm totally up with skin fasting if
Well, of
we want
course
to
you
use.
would be.
I do.
You do skin fasting every day over here.
All day long.
Well,
My
and that's-
eyelashes are skin fasted right now.
she just skin fasts all the time, and that's what I think is so entertaining about the two of us, Chris, is like we're so similar on so many like nutrition and core values and outlooks and health and wellness. Like we really do, you know, agree on absolutely everything. And what's funny is the two of us are on such opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to like skincare and beauty
And shopping.
Like I am like the hardcore. I love shopping, love beauty, love nail polish, love hair, like you name it, all of the girly girl stuff that like I grew up being such a girly girl, even though I had 3 brothers. I loved makeup and beauty. And you, on the other hand, you're like, no, I'm ponytail and sweater. Like just, it is what it is. I maybe brushed my hair today.
Well, I definitely brush my hair. I even wash my face, but
What?
I shower every day. I just don't do I do my hair twice a week.
I generally wash my hair twice a week too. And I actually, while on the topic of detox and fasts, I like to do an apple cider vinegar rinse in my hair, you know, maybe once a week or a few times a month, just to kind of get rid of any of that buildup as well. Just a fun little side note.
I see. That's something I would try. I don't think I've done that.
Do you dilute some apple cider vinegar and you put it in like you know, a little container, bring it with you in the shower. Really all you have to do is you go in the shower, have some apple cider vinegar, dilute it a little bit in water, and then, you know, you just kind of lean your head back so you don't get in your eyes. You pour it in, and I let it sit on my scalp for a couple minutes while I'll do, you know, whatever else I have to do in the shower. And I really love, because it really just helps remove like that buildup in the hair, and it really can kind of close the hair cuticles a little bit, so your hair looks, you know, a little more shiny or a little more healthier. And I just feel like it gets any of that buildup out of my head and my scalp. So it's a little side factor. It's a little fast for your hair.
Okay, well, wait. Now I have questions. I need to know, for our viewers, of course, like for a friend.
Obviously, asking for a friend.
Asking for a friend. Is this pre or post shampoo, conditioner? How do we do that?
This would be after. So after you've shampooed and conditioned, done your normal thing, you just pour this diluted apple cider vinegar on the scalp and the hair, and then let it sit for, you know, a couple minutes, 2 to 5 minutes. And then you just do like a nice rinse with like cool water to really close up the cuticles. And that'll give you like that nice shine, and it'll really help just lift any of that buildup. And, you know, if you do have thinner, more fragile hair, maybe do it less often. But I just love it for a nice little scalp detox.
Okay, I'm going to try this. If anything goes wrong,
are you
everybody here has totally heard where this information came from. No, I'm going to try it. I'm going to get my daughter to try it too.
Yeah, it's a nice little detox for the hair. We're talking about, you know, detox today, so let's give it a try.
Yeah, and I have thinner hair, but it's curly, so it looks thick. And my daughter has super, like a bazillion pounds of hair, but it's thin. Like,
that's me.
You know what I mean?
I have thin, but a lot of it.
Yeah, so we'll both do it, and then we'll report back. So, all right. Amazing. So let's talk about those triggers. Back to the show.
Back to the regularly scheduled programming, everybody. You know, we like to do our little detours here and there.
So when not to support a fast or considerations before. So definitely we got to make sure that macronutrient intake, that perfect carbohydrate, protein, fat mix is happening.
Make sure you're getting your protein in. If you're not
Have
eating enough,
to.
come on, people. Protein, fat,
Water
fat. I'm going to
is a
tattoo it on me.
must. Is a must. Oh, I can't wait. I'll take you.
I have
Right
so
on
many
your
tattoos
forehead.
at this point.
Forehead.
I should say I don't have any tattoos, but every day I'm like, I'm going to tattoo that on my body. I'm getting that tattoo. I need this on here. And Patient's like,
You've probably run out of skin by now, actually.
I'm going to have 2 arm sleeves with all of the tattoos I need to get.
All right. So you can't do it unless you're supervised. That's a hard no.
Mhm.
Water, you have to get that up. It's not an option. That has to be up even before we're going to consider it. Oh, the other ones, post-pregnancy.
Postpartum? Nope. Please don't fast during postpartum.
Please.
Please don't.
As much as it's, it says it's really good to lower the inflammation and all these other things. At the end of the day, again, you've been feeding. Yeah, go.
Your body needs to pregnancy is a topic for me.
No, it's a beast.
It's a beast.
It's a trauma. Okay.
It's a trauma to the body.
Yeah. So we might want to do it a little bit pre-surgery, and we may have to do it a little bit post-surgery because we're on liquids, maybe because you can't keep down, you know what I mean? Sometimes the anesthetic, these types. So that's a consideration. Underweight, if you're already underweight, this right now is probably a hard no.
Hard no if you're underweight.
We know about the blood sugar instability, even though it'll say, well, it helps regulate. And yes, I totally, fully agree. But we have to make sure that we're balanced the rest of the time if you're going to do that 16-8, which is really that intermittent fasting. So those are the big triggers I see. Those are my hard no's. I shouldn't say that's the only list.
But those are some main ones, right? Like
those are major considerations.
If you're underweight, you're dealing with blood sugar instability, like for acne sufferers, because of course there is going to be some studies out there on benefits for diabetics and all of those things. Like when we're talking about this, we're really focusing on acne specific sufferers and clients, and the postpartum, post-pregnancy. And something I do want to add on to that is, remember, your body has gone through a massive trauma. First of all, it just grew a human being from scratch, and then it pushed the human being out of the body, or if maybe had a C-section. That is a massive trauma for the body, and you need to be nourishing and giving your body all of the love and all of the care, and reminding yourself that you don't need to be back into your genes if you just had a baby 6 weeks ago. Really just focus on getting the foundation of the nutrients into your body.
Also, what about something very understated? What about tracking your progress?
I love a good tracking system.
Because
I love a good tracking system. You know that about me. All the systems.
Oh, I'm pretty sure you have Amazon
systems
on track.
You know I do. I love my online shopping.
Here's the thing. When you come in and you start working with a coach, a holistic nutritionist such as us, we try and teach you how to look for inflammatory markers, how to look for hormonal instability, how to really hone in on that overall encompassing, like that inflam type trigger. So whether that's sleep, whether it's diet, whatever that is, the fact is if you don't know how stable our moods are throughout the day, are we wired and tired? Most people don't even, like that one client didn't realize she was crashing in the afternoon. She knew she was, but she wasn't equating it to anything, right? Because I lost weight. So that was great, right? And the other thing is we really have to step back and look at that, the reduction of the inflammation, because mood, sleep, energy, and bowels, we've got to get those things lickety split before we're going to go and start trying to restrict.
But Chris,
because then you're what?
Those aren't fun. You know that.
I think they're fun.
Well, I think they're fun, but it's clients come in, they're like, what do you mean sleep, energy, bowel movements? Like I want to clear my acne. Well, yeah, these are the steps you got to take first.
Right. The other thing, oh my goodness, my acne sufferers, please. If we do not drink enough or are not drinking enough, your skin is going to be very dry. And when you enter into that fast, guess what's going to happen? We're going to start looking like lizards losing its scales or whatever those things are.
Lizards.
Well, they do. Like an iguana? Yeah.
I
like not a snake.
Are so cool.
I'll have to tell you the iguana story, but not here. So our hard and fast is intermittent
now
fasting.
The whole audience is like, Chris, can I be on that call? I want to know about the iguana story. All right, we'll skip it. We digress.
If there's time.
We can't be talking about iguanas when we're talking fasting here. Like, we're just going down the rabbit hole.
I know, I have a problem. Yeah. So intermittent fasting, it may clear some of the congestion. It doesn't clear the skin. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And there's always that caveat, while reducing body weight. So just let's always put those together. So let's talk about eating the right foods, because we always talk about inflammation. We always talk about anti-inflam. So when on a fast, please, there's going to be dairy, carbohydrates, gluten. They've got to come out, because we know them as acne triggers. So we're not going to put them in. We always talk about green leafy veggies, cruciferous, berries, antioxidants.
Love
and
antioxidants.
I don't even think you've ever seen berries and antioxidants not together, even when we're just talking in general.
You have to say berries and antioxidants together. You just have to.
That's Katie's thing. It's like she'll be talking about because they're high in antioxidants, and we're all like, you're in a room full of nutritionists. What?
We know they're high in antioxidants, Katie. It's like in my brain. Like the wild blueberries, they're lovely antioxidants, the dark cherries, but I'm a big berry fan. What can I say?
You are a big berry fan. What about avocados?
Love them. Salmon?
Mm-hmm.
I also love some salmon.
Yeah, some lean proteins, really good. Carrots, true to the form. Sweet potatoes, orange foods, and skin. Not too many, because your body can actually turn orange. That's a fact. But carrots and sweet potatoes.
At Willy Wonka.
Oh my gosh, this might be my favorite time here today. So, that's when we don't want to look, we want to look maybe at lower carb, maybe a paleo, or we got to be careful with our vegans, because already we probably don't do protein too well if we're not well educated in it. Mm-hmm. So there's always those disclaimers, because I know there's people listening and they're like, I know you're doing a great job, right?
You're doing, just remember, we're kind of talking generally. We're not talking about like the specific, we're talking generally.
Yeah. So if you are going to go into intermittent fast, we need to get these foods in. Like, did you hear there wasn't any rice, there wasn't any bread, there wasn't any goldfish, there wasn't.
I used to crush bags of goldfish crackers in high school. That was my breakfast.
Oh,
you want to know what I ate for breakfast in high school every single day?
No.
Because my mom would drop me off at school early, and I would bring a peanut butter sandwich and a Ziploc bag of goldfish crackers, and I would meet my friend Mark, who I'm still BFFs with. I know he's not listening, but I just had to say it anyways. And we would sit, because we would both get dropped off like 45 minutes before school started, so we'd be the only ones there, and I'd be eating and he'd be like, "Are you literally eating a peanut butter sandwich and goldfish for breakfast at 7:30 in the morning?" I'm like, yep, I am.
Oh,
side note, fun fact. Yeah.
I can't say mine was any better, but
then he would
when you
squish
tell your
my
stories.
bag of goldfish. He would crunch it every day, and every day I had goldfish powder for lunch or for breakfast.
And you probably still ate it.
Yeah,
why didn't you open your sandwich and put it in the sandwich?
Well, that's weird. No, that's weird, man. That's weird. But we're so digressed. We're talking about peanut butter sandwiches and goldfish when we're supposed to be talking about the healthy anti-inflammatory. So you can see.
To say, Katie would not have been able to do an intermittent fast at that point.
And I wouldn't have wanted to. Thank you very much.
So when we're looking at that, because it always coins in somehow that detoxification role. Well, I want it to detoxify. I want it to take away my acne. So really, when it comes to that, that's where we use the foods, the sulfur foods, all the foods we just mentioned, right? So it's removing the perpetual insults while flooding the body with beautiful nutrients in rotation, with variety, seasonal if we can get it. Like there are some core nutritional foundations that we want to teach you first.
Chris, you're saying all the right things to me today. OMG. All of those keywords I love to hear.
Do I hear a gold star coming on?
You might get a gold star or two today.
Well, I got to stop talking if I expect to get the gold star, because I feel like I might take away my own gold star.
Probably. Just end it now.
So that's kind of in the nutshell of how I wanted to kind of proceed with the intermittent fasting, the time restrictive. Big fan of time restrictive. While you're sleeping, That's exactly what I wanted to bring in with the detoxification. That's the time your body really detoxes, is when we're sleeping, when it's not overrun full of heavy foods prior. So why don't we use our natural circadian rhythm, our natural sleep cycle, while learning how to eat for our body and eat for our skin so that we can be nourished. And later on, should you say, I think I want to go do this IF, go for it.
But don't skip the foundations. And I love that you said that we're detoxifying while we're sleeping. And here's the thing is, if we have food in our system, that's one of our body's main priorities, is to digest the food. So if you're constantly eating all day long from the moment you get up until the moment you go to bed, right up until 11 or 12 p.m. at 12 p.m. and going to bed, all your body's doing is digesting, and it kind of takes away from its ability to go and clean house.
And multiple times clients will get acid reflux the next day or the following day. They will have heavy digestion. They'll have a terrible sleep. And if we don't intermittent fast properly, diabetes is one I didn't put in there. Even though it's good, we have to make sure we're stabilized. Or if someone's type 2, not insulin dependent, you can throw off your body if you don't have enough calories, even enough fiber. Because remember, fiber is still carbohydrates, but I don't like the carbohydrate word. I think
your blood sugar loves some fiber. Blood sugar loves some fiber.
So we do need that food and that caloric intake. So if we're getting up at like 2-3 o'clock in the morning and we don't know why, or we're getting up in the morning and we're like starving, or you're waking up because of hunger, please note something's not working. So those are just the key concepts. I think we just poo-pooed intermittent fasting, but it's not about that. It's setting yourself up.
Setting yourself up for success if you choose to do intermittent fasting.
Please do that. I see it wrong all the time. I see women lose their menses because of it. I see women excel very short term as well once they have the core foundations. But if it's not set up, I really see women suffer. And I see the acne. It's not,
and we don't want you to suffer. We genuinely want to set you up for success. So if you do want to try on the time restricted eating in the IF, you have those foundational principles in place that are really going to allow you to do it properly.
Yep. That's my shtick. That's it for me.
That's our shtick. All right, everybody. So that ends this episode of the Clear Skin Chronicles. And guess what we're doing next week, Chris? Next week, we are talking to Dr. Aaron Gilson. He is a plastic surgeon out of Oregon, and he's really helping us, learn how to redefine beauty and taking that plastic surgery perspective. And I know the listeners are really going to enjoy this chat because he took a very educational perspective and, talked about both sides of the spectrum. And it was a really informative chat. So if, you've been intrigued by the world of crazy, the plastic surgery and the fillers and the Botox and just the impact this has had on the beauty standards in our society, this will be a chat you definitely don't want to miss.
Thanks for hanging out with us this week on the Clear Skin Chronicles. We'll see you next Wednesday with a brand new episode. Remember to subscribe to the show and drop us a review. Sending glowing vibes your way, Katie and Chris.